The Magicals are the best class in the My Singing Monsters series, many would argue, but what are the best Magicals? At number 10, we have Hollow, a monster which we don't really know at all, yet do at the exact same time. It has a phenomenally weird yet excellent design. It provides mystery and intrigue as you get a bit of a look at its body with its arms, however, most of it remains hidden. We get a glimpse at it during its animation where we see a blob inside of its wooden exterior, but other than that, we don't really know much about what Hollow looks like on the inside, which is a really interesting mystery, I think. We get a look with its arms, but certainly I do think it's a big question what it could look like underneath. It adds such an overwhelmingly huge amount of rhythm to the Bone Island song, and it's such a unique design considering that it's a bone elemental. I have no doubt that its inside would encompass the bone element, seeing as though we can't really see that on the outside, but overall it's just such a monster to encompass the bone element that is a really surprising one that it just has to make this list. And you've got to mention that originally it was a leaf that was found on top of its head on release, which is a cool Easter egg there, which then turned into the berry we have today, which was a very delightful change. At number 9, we have Zeesta, the very first monster that introduced us to the overwhelmingly lovely time that we had with the Sanctum. Zeesta is family to Gas, and inside of the trailer, they had a huge heart in the reveal of the Sanctum itself. Besides that, though, their design is absolutely so amazing. They took the Gas design and did so much cooler stuff with it. They added bones to it when Zeesta is playing with its orbs, and that is such a unique idea and spin on things. It makes it feel as though it's very supernatural and magical, and it really encompasses all of the elements that it does have in such a way that it's such a unique monster as a result of that. The colours add so much to the Sanctum too, just like to every single Sanctum monster. They really did differentiate the colours really well with the Sanctum and harness into that. At number 8, we have Echidna, my favourite monster of all time who had to make the list. I'm trying to be very general in this list, so that's why Echidna isn't number 1. Otherwise, I'd just have all my favourites on the list, wouldn't I? Echidna is the first vocalist and instrumentalist that we had for a very long time. We had Flores, who came along after that, but beforehand, we really didn't have one since Glacier on Starhenge and Celestial Island, so that was ages ago, honestly. So we've not had a new one for ages until Echidna came along. Its sound was very much a very big surprise. I don't think anyone would have expected it to go, yeah, but there it is, and it provides an excellent vocalization for prepping Bone Island's astounding verse, which we all love with Fangler and everyone, and its best verse truly wouldn't be complete either without Echidna's instrumental support, and it's related to Wullaby, also one of my favourites, so it's got to go on the list. At number 7, we have Frondley. They are the most unexpected debuting vocalists ever, I would say. Throughout the whole My Singing Monsters history behind the game, I feel like this one is the most unexpected vocalist. It soothes the song out and makes it so that there's so much tension inside of the secret verse at the very end of the song, and it gets you every single time. Frondley's sound, the humming, the vibe, it's such a magically star-powered vibe that only the best monsters inside of My Singing Monsters have, and I love its conflict that it shares with its sound versus its design that also creates so much tension, as when you're having a look at Frondley, you'd honestly expect them to be an instrumentalist, and that actually goes back to what we expected before the Magical Sanctum trailer. We expected for the Toads to play in a part of the song. We never expected for it to be a vocalist. Its design is so downtrodden and calm. It just completely contrasts in such a good way like Denchus does on Bone Island, but even more so it's a really cool design and sound. At number 6, we have Hippity Hop with a hop hop hop. It's impossible to name a better duo than Hippity Hop. It brings about so much quirkiness to Faerie Island. Its character behind the song just wouldn't be the same without Hippity Hop. It adds so much more personality to the song, and it truly would not be as quirky without Hippity Hop. It followed through onto Bone Island as Magicals. I do think the quirkiness that we saw with Hippity Hop, you really see them experimenting around with the characters behind the monsters here, which led to the Sanctum and the amazing experience that we did have. It partakes in in Faerie's best verse, I would argue, and makes the song so catchy. It's by far a really dynamic duo that adds so much to the song, and it marks one of the first new vocalists we'd had in a very long time. We had Faerie before that and one or two others, but we'd not really experimented around with new vocalists for a very long time in the original game. So seeing Hippity Hop come along and them having such unique vocals really brought about a new era for the game in which we saw so many new vocalists, which was wonderful, and I'm sure it will continue, and I cannot wait for that reason what they do next. At number 5, we have Gob, the most surprising sounding of all. Good old Gobby, as I call them. Their feet were initially only under the loading screen, I do remember. We knew nothing about them, and then all of a sudden we saw a massive blobbing game, and guess what? It was an organ inside of it. I wouldn't have ever expected that, but I think this monster is the most surprising one to date. Frontly, yeah, is the most surprising vocalist, but the most surprising instrumentalist to ever debut, and perhaps even ever will debut, has to go to Gob. Its simplicity in its design is so good, yet also just its sound, it adds so much. Even though it's so simple, it's such a good concept, and it just comes to show even just the simplest ideas work in a really good way. And I love how it encompasses light too, as it was the first monster besides Flores that introduced us to light monsters illuminating in game. At number 4, we have Wither. Wisp is a fan favourite Ethereal, and for good reason, but with Wither, this concept is taken far and beyond. The design and everything encompasses what Wisp could have in so many ways, and you know what? It is such a good design. The dinosaur aspect to it is a really unique concept. They are just so insanely cool with it. Its design and sound go together like ebb and flow for Wither. Its hand animation is very, very cool. This was the introduction to the designers finally encompassing hands a bit more and encompassing them in designs in ways that we hadn't really seen before in the animations, and it just got so insanely cool to see that inside of the animation, as it adds a lot of the hand animations, I do think, to monsters. Wither was also based on the designs for the lyrics, concept art for the wordos that never made it in-game, and I really love that throwback. There's no wonder that Wither leans over, it carries the whole Bone Island song. At number 3, we have Fiddlement. Not only has Fiddlement charged itself with the element of light as its bio states, but it's also charged its way into my heart. Fiddlement's Erhu edition was a sign for more experimental instruments to begin being explored on the Sanctum, and it really set out for a new era of monsters that would depart, and I feel like Fiddlement doesn't just encompass the light element, but it symbolizes a new kind of era, I do think, where they just really went insane with the designs. After Fiddlement, it just seemed to go completely crazy with the Sanctum, so I've got to really point it out. It was initially teased in a live stream. For the rest of the light elementals, there wasn't really any other teasers besides that, and I really think that really adds to how they knew that for the light elementals, Fiddlement was it. It is such a cool one, and it is one of the concluding light elementals that is just so befitting of that role. Or should I say, beflickering. Who would have expected for a UFO to be a monster one day? I certainly wouldn't. With a bulb on it, no way. At number 2, we have Rorik, one of the best monsters to ever debut, that perfectly encompasses the magical superpowery vibe that I love to see in game. Roster, as I call them, empowers the secret verse, or rather the ending verse, by only playing inside it, and brings it up to an insane degree and makes it all the more special. Rorik's role inside of the song is so good. This is what vocalists can be in My Singing Monsters. Keep that in mind as Rorik takes things to a whole other level. Its design is so unique and crazy, and its hair shares similarities to that of a mad scientist. It's just an overall crazy monster, and it's the kind of thing I love to see in game. Tying into Rorik though, at number 1, we have Enchantling, the best monster in the series to date. Without a doubt, I can say that Enchantling had the biggest impact on the game, and just as the most overall that I have ever seen in game. It didn't leave just an impact on the song alone, but it left an impact on the island itself, with Enchantler illuminating gorgeously upon Enchantling's discovery all across everyone's games. It interacts with the island itself, and it's such a monumental thing to never happen before. It's a mini version version of the islands. It's such a fabulous idea, and it's executed flawlessly with Enchantling. It adds so much to the Sanctum. I don't even think I even have to tell you what it adds. It adds an energy that can't be described, and its animation paired with Rorik is a spectacle. It harnesses magical powers inside of the song, and it's just such a cool experience to watch. It fits the conclusion of the magical saga in a better way than I think anyone could have ever expected, and I think it's a sign of the fact that whatever is to come after the magicals is going to be absolutely groundbreaking. Before we go out, I want to mention some honourable mentions. We have Denshus and Gloptic. I feel like I had to mention them on the list even though they didn't quite make it on my list. Let me know down below what you think about my top 10 list for the magicals, and let me know what your top 10 favourites are. And make sure to like and subscribe too, guys. I will see you later. Bye!